We just took a trip up to northern Alaska and I did some fishing for Arctic Grayling. So I put together some of the pictures of me fishing on this trip, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about how and where to catch Arctic Grayling. So grayling live pretty much everywhere in Alaska, and some of the best places to fish for them are the Denali and Taylor highways. So pretty much anywhere on these highways and lakes and ponds will hold these grayling. You can also fish in small creeks and rivers for grayling. Right here in this picture, I'm fishing a pool on a creek on the Taylor Highway. In 3 days, I caught 17 grayling on one creek on the Taylor Highway, and most of those grayling I all caught in the matter of 3 or 4 hours. So there's really two main ways to catch grayling. One of those being a spin fishing pole with usually number 1 to 0 size spinner on it. Some people also use a fly rod with different flies, sometimes nymphs, to catch grayling. A lot of times the fly rod is the way to go in faster moving streams, and spin rod for lakes and ponds. However, all these grayling that I just caught up on the Taylor Highway were on a spin fishing rod. However, once we made our way down to the Denali Highway, I was definitely wishing I had my fly rod with me. We stopped at a few of the faster creeks and saw quite a number of large-sized grayling in there. These fish didn't even bat an eye at my spinner, and I believe if I did have a fly rod with me, I could have done pretty well. So when you're fishing in creeks, wherever it's at in Alaska, you usually want to look for the deeper pools for grayling. Grayling also like to live in undercut banks and behind rocks where the water has a small eddy and slows a bit. Just because one grayling stream does not have grayling in it, does not mean that the next won't. I fished Logging Cabin Creek on the Taylor Highway and saw plenty of grayling, but none of them even looked at my spinner, even though it came very close to them. Just a few creeks down, I hit a creek that I had great success in for grayling and almost caught one, or at least saw a grayling chase my lure every cast. Right here is after I crossed Jack Wade Creek on the confluence between it and the Walker Fork of the 40 Mile River. I didn't have my waders on, so I had to take my shoes and socks off and walk across. I fished near this location and did not catch any fish or see any fish. I found more luck in the smaller creeks rather than the larger rivers for grayling. I believe that the smaller creeks are more concentrated of fish. I mean, you might have to walk half a mile upstream, but then you'll get to that one good pool and you can get a lot of fish out of it. Whereas the larger rivers, especially the slower ones, the grayling are spread out across the entire thing, and even though there might be a lot of fish in some of them, they seem to be kind of hard to catch because you might just get one at a time and then have to walk a little farther up and catch another one. So right here is the confluence of the Walker Fork and Jack Wade Creek. There's a really good pool right at where the two came together, and I thought for sure there would be a lot of fish in it. Seems like if you have a smaller creek coming into a larger river, especially if the larger river is more murky or silty colored, that you have quite a bit of luck catching fish. However, here, that was not the case. So in this picture, I'm fishing a pool on the Walker Fork 40 Mile River. It's not a huge river, but it's big enough, and even though there may have been good fish in it, I cannot catch a thing. This is a tributary to the Walker Fork 40 Mile River, and it's a lot smaller, and just a little upstream from the larger river, there was fish like crazy. So right here, I'm fishing a really good pool, just a little bit above the road, and there was a lot of fish in here. I could not get a ton to bite, but I definitely saw a lot. This right here is a decent sized grayling of 10 or 12 inches that I caught out of one pool just off the highway. No stream is really too small for grayling. They can live in anything from the largest of rivers to the smallest of ditches. So right here I'm fishing right at the mouth of a culvert. This is an excellent place to catch grayling, especially if the culvert kind of has a little drop off the end of it, since grayling aren't the best jumpers, so it can be kind of hard for them to jump up into culvert. Obviously, this culvert just kind of slowly moves out into the pool past it, but I saw a lot of grayling in here anyway. I did not end up catching any, unfortunately, but I definitely saw quite a few, and they'd love to chase my lure. And again, the best lure size for the grayling is pretty much anything that you want to throw at them. You know, you're probably gonna have a lot better luck on smaller fly, smaller spinner, but if you're going for trophy fish, feel free to throw something big out there. I've definitely had my best luck in lakes and ponds, and definitely the smaller of those, because kind of like I was saying earlier about the difference in between fishing a small creek and a small river, it's kind of the same way for me in between a small pond or lake and a big lake or pond. Over my lures and gear that I use. I'm a big fan of the 5-foot long trout rods that are anywhere from 6 to 15 pound. About 6 inches up from where my lure is tied on, which is usually one of these, and I don't have one right now, but also a 0 spinner. I'll have a split shot, usually not too big of one, just kind of a medium to small size. And then as far as it goes for lures, I like this, the 0, which I don't have right now. It's great for small grayling, and then also the number 1. I use that a lot. Right here is a number 2, and I don't like this one as much since it's kind of long versus this number 2 over here. It's a little bit shorter, and I like this one a ton. This is actually my best lure for grayling I've ever had, and I don't actually use it anymore. It's just gotten a little rusty and well used, but I've caught hundreds probably of grayling on that single lure. And then the number 3 over here, that's great for, you know, larger fish. One of my favorite things about all these lures is you can also potentially catch Dolly Varden, Arctic char on them, and multiple other kinds of fish. And these lures, I think I mentioned earlier, don't always work the best in faster water. Even if they're spinning good, fish just don't seem to bite them as well. But sometimes you can get lucky, and they're also great in ponds and lakes where I catch most of my grayling.